Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. Okay, so we learned an amazing lesson from Joseph in the last two Parshas, in Parsha Vayeshev and Parsha Mikeitz. And it's an amazing thing. And why is Joseph called Yosef Atzadik? So we're going to see an amazing lesson. So from early on in Parsha Vayeshev, Joseph always acted with a royal bearing. He acted like a king. He held himself up in dignity. And we see Todos Yaakov Yosef, that the generations of Yaakov, of Jacob, are Yosef. That Joseph, more than all the rest of his brothers, he learned the most from his father Yaakov. He learned the most Torah, and he emulated his father the most, and he followed in his father's teachings the most. So even at a young age, even when he's 17 years old, in Parsha Vayeshev, he's speaking what's called, the Torah calls diba. He's speaking this like slanderous talk against his brothers. But what's the goal? The goal was that he was going to his father, and he was acting like the responsibility of a king already, even at a young age. He wanted to elevate the Jewish people. And he may not have gone about it in the right way, but he wanted his brothers to reach their spiritual greatness. So he was saying things that he thought they were doing wrong, and then bringing it to their father, who was the Rebbe, the teacher, the rabbi, and then hopefully then Yaakov would be able to correct their behavior, and elevate them spiritually. So he may not have seen it all correctly, and this started causing the sinas chinam, the hatred of the brothers. But right away, Hashem lets everyone know that Yosef is going to be king. And he gives Joseph these dreams, and the first dream is like the 11, sheaves of wheat that are bowing down to him, and that represents all 11 of his brothers, that eventually he will be king, he will rule over them. And then finally he has the next dream of the sun and the moon, and then all 11 brothers, 11 stars bowing down to him, and that represented his father and his mother. It's a question Rashi brings up. How can it be his mother? His mother Rachel had passed away, and then eventually he's going to be king. He's going to be a melech. He's going to be the king of the Jewish people. So right away, things start to go disastrously wrong. The hatred of his brothers caused them to throw him in a pit. At first they were going to kill him, and Reuven, the oldest, just suggested, no, let's just throw him in a pit. And Reuven's intention was to come back and rescue him. And then Yehuda, who is going to form another line of kings in the Jewish people, he says, no, let's just sell him. Let's make a profit off this. Let's not kill him, but let's sell him. And they saw some Yishmaelim. They saw the children of Yishmael, the brother of Yitzhak, the brother of their grandfather, and his children. And then it goes through this whole process. So right there, after Yosef's brothers try to kill him, and after, he's thrown in this pit and then sold into slavery down to Mitzrayim, down to Egypt, he could have given up. He could have just, I don't get it. I saw this dream, I'm supposed to be king, but this, what's this? This is not, I'm thrown in a pit. My brothers wanted to kill me. They hate me. And now I'm a slave in Egypt. And he could have just given it all up. But he never stopped acting like a king. And he held himself high, and he acted with dignity. So even while he's a slave to Potiphar in Egypt, he still was following his father's teachings. And Potiphar even says, Potiphar could see that he was being blessed, on the account of Hashem. So how does Potiphar know about Hashem? He's an Egyptian sorcerer. He's in the high court of Egypt. The ancient Egypt was renowned for sorcery and magic and the dark arts. So what do they know of Hashem and the Torah? It's because Yosef was constantly speaking Hashem's name and speaking the words of the Torah and following the mitzvos that his father taught him. So he had the bearing of a king, even as a slave. And he held himself up, and he acted with morality and with dignity. And Potiphar saw this and started elevating him. And then Potiphar put him in charge of his whole household. This very wealthy Egyptian aristocrat saw these kingly qualities in Yosef and puts him in charge. And then Yosef goes, so he rises in the household even as a slave, because he's acting all the time like a king. And now he has to resist the temptations of Potiphar's wife. this beautiful Egyptian, aristocrat, this wealthy woman, and she's trying to seduce him, and he's just this young man, and he's constantly resisting and resisting, her seductions, because he's acting with the dignity of a king. He's following the teachings of his father. But then there's this Egyptian festival, and there's no one else in the house. And it says that Yosef went into the house to do his work. And some of the Meforshim say that maybe he was giving in to the taiva, the temptation, the desire, because no one else was around. So why did he have to go in the house? But then Potiphar's wife, it's just the two of them. And then she grasped his shirt. And some of the Meforshim say he's right on the verge of giving into it all. But he sees the image of his father. He sees his father Yaakov. And then he gets his bearing back. And this is not how a king behaves. A king doesn't betray his master, who's treated him so fairly and elevated him, and given him so much responsibility in this very, rich, wealthy household. And he doesn't want to let down his father Yaakov, the holy, Jacob, and all the great teachings, that Yaakov, and he sees that image of his father, and he doesn't want to let down Hashem. He's embarrassed to not, and then the Midrash says that he had a vision that Yaakov told him, there's going to be this Choshen HaMishpat. There's going to be this breastplate that the Kohen Gadol will wear, as part of the high priest will wear in the service in the temple. There's going to be 12 beautiful gemstones. And each gemstone is going to have the name of one of the Shvatim, one of the tribes. Your name will not be on one of those gemstones if you give into this temptation. And he's back. And he's back to being the Melech again. He's back to being the king. And he resists. And he escapes out of the shirt, leaves it in Potiphar's wife's hands, and runs outside. So you think, oh my gosh, even in this great temptation, he overcomes it. And what's the reward? She slanders him. Motzi Shemran. She's speaking libel and slander. Another, blood libel against him. And it's so fascinating how she phrases it. First, she brings in the other servants, and she says, "This Ivri, this Hebrew, that my husband, brought to Metzachek to sport with me, bringing his Hebrew immorality into this household," and she slanders him, and she's lying. And then she goes to her husband and she says, you brought this Hebrew, this Ivri Eved, this Hebrew slave you brought into me to sport with me, to tempt me, and all these false accusations. And then it says in the Midrash that Asnas, the daughter of Potiphar, tells him the truth, tells him what really happened. So Potiphar's furious for a number of reasons. And it seems that if he believed that Yosef was guilty, he would have killed him. But it seems like he knows he's innocent. But then for Yosef at Tzaddik, for the righteous Yosef, for turning down this temptation, how's he rewarded? He's thrown in prison. And there he could have given it all up. Oh, I don't get it. I had this dream that I was going to become king. And I tried my hardest. Even my brothers hated me. I still tried. I still acted like a king. And then I was a slave in this Egyptian household, and I still tried to act like a king. And then I resist this temptation, but it's too much now. Now I'm in prison. And for all those 12 years, when he knew he was innocent, and he knew he did the right thing, and his reward is prison, but he still acted like a king. He still acted like a king. What does a king do? A king looks out for his people. So even in that prison, he still acted with royal bearing. And what did he do? He was concerned, with his fellow prisoners. And then he was elevated even in the prison. The warden of the prison, saw his qualities, and he was elevated even in authority in the prison itself. He was given great responsibility. And then when the royal baker and the royal wine steward, they had their dreams, he is concerned for his fellow prisoners, and he interprets their dreams. So he's always acting like the king. So then in Parsha Mikeitz, when he's finally released, and then he's now interpreting Paro's dreams, the Pharaoh's dreams, and he interprets the dream of the 7 healthy cows eating the 7 thin, emaciated cows, and the 7, healthy, bales of wheat eating, the withered, destroyed, and he sees that it's a message from Hashem. And he sees that Paro, who's the Melech, who's the king over the mighty Egyptian empire, have been given a message from Hashem that there's going to be 7 years of famine, and there's going to be, 7 years of plenty, 7 years of great abundance in the crops, and then 7 years of famine. And once again, he takes responsibility, even though he's a lowly slave that became a prisoner. And he gives advice of how to run the nation. And the Pharaoh sees in him the great wisdom, the great Chachma, the Torah, and that he is a good person. He's Yashar, he's upright in what he does. He follows, in Hashem's ways, and he has the qualities of royalty, of leadership, and then he's appointed viceroy. So it's not that Yosef started acting like a king when he became the king. He became the king because he always acted like a king. It's a great lesson for us because things are not always going to go our way. But we always have to remember that we're Ben Melech. We're a Bas Melech. We are son of the great king, the King of Kings, Hashem, the King of the universe, Melech HaOlam, and that we're daughters of Hashem. That we are royalty, and we should act like royalty in our actions. We should have concern for other people. We should be trying to elevate our fellow Jewish friends and family, and everyone we come in contact. We should try to elevate them and speak the mighty wisdom, the great wisdom of the Torah that elevates us and can elevate everyone. And we should act like the sons and daughters of the king. So it's a great lesson we learn from Yosef. Have a Freiliche Hanukkah, Hanukkah Sameach, happy Hanukkah, and hope to see you back again soon.